I would like to call the regular meeting of March 5th to order. Please stand for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Allen. Here. Broughton.
Here.
Darnall is absent with notice. DePalma.
Here.
Cordella.
Here.
Marshall.
Here.
Thurman.
Here. At this time, we need to approve our agenda. Hopefully, everyone's had an opportunity to look it over. So would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved. Support.
I have a motion by Clerk Allen and is seconded by Trustee DePalma to approve the agenda as presented. If everyone is in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The agenda has been approved unanimously. So before we get into our reports tonight, we have a presentation, and that's going to be followed by a public hearing. So for our presentation this evening, we have a zoning board of appeals member that is retiring from the board. And so I would like to present this plaque to A.I. Wood for his service to the township on the zoning board of appeals. And that this is an award of recognition and appreciation presented to A.I. Wood III. And it's for 2 years of dedicated service as a member of the zoning board of appeals for the Charter Township of Brandon. Thank you very much. We got
A photo shoot. Thank you so much for all your time.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. I'm gonna cry.
Really, being on the zoning board can be a very thankless job, and we truly appreciate everyone that's on there. So, thank you. Okay, and you don't have to stay for the meeting if you don't want to.
Really?
All right, so now we're going to have a public hearing on the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant. And that is the grant for concession stands and comfort station that we plan to build, hopefully. Well, the grant we're applying for is due the 1st of April of this year. March 28th? Okay, March 28th this year. So what we will do is we will open the public hearing, ask for people to speak on that, and then we'll close the public hearing. So we need a motion by a board member to open the public hearing.
I'll make that motion to open the hearing at 7:35.
Okay, and who would like to second that motion?
Support.
Okay. All right, I have a motion by Clerk Allen, and it is seconded by Trustee Marshall to open the public hearing on the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant. So let's do a roll call, please.
Marshall.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Broughton.
Yes.
Darnall is absent with notice. DePalma.
Yes.
Cordella.
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes. So at this time, our public hearing is open. If there's anyone that would like to speak to the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant, now is your opportunity. Yes. Just come up to the podium and state your name.
Okay.
And then you can.
I'm not real good at this,
That's
so
okay.
bear with me. My name is Lori Kuznaw, and I'm a paraeducator at Elmer Knopf Learning Center in Flint. My school has students from 6 to 27 years old, and they are, did I tell you their special needs already? Yeah, okay. They are mentally and physically impaired students. The reason that I'm here is to say that I'm for the concessions and the restroom grant. We had the opportunity do I have a time limit?
3 minutes,
Okay.
but that's all right. We're a little bit flexible.
Okay, because I want to explain why I'm here and how
Okay, that's fine.
my Flint kids came to Brandon. Before we had our Christmas break this year, my students were all talking and they wanted to go sledding. Well, many of my kids have never been sledding in their lives. My students are 14 to 18 years old. And after the kids left, we sat and talked as a staff and said, well, we can't do this because we have one who's in a wheelchair who weighs 200 pounds. So we couldn't lift him, up the hill. We have several others who couldn't climb the hill. If they did, maybe once, and that would be it. So we figured, we're just going to have to tell them, I'm sorry that we can't. Then over Christmas break, I was on Facebook and I saw your park. And it said that you had this lift and I couldn't believe it. So I thought, well, I don't know if this is true or if they'll take us, but I got a hold of the park. I don't know what your young lady's name was.
Here.
And they just went out of their way. This community went out of their way. I brought about 30 children, and they went out of their way for our kids. They had the best day of their life, and they're still talking about it. And anything that you can do for children like ours is so much appreciated. To have concessions, especially inside where some people who are like my children who could work there even, because our kids do work. To have bathrooms, especially if it's where I could go in with one of my students if I have a male student, because I can't go into a men's room with my student, but I'm not going to bring my male student into the ladies' room when he's 16 because he's still a boy. What am I missing? It was the greatest thing. Can I show you a couple pictures? Is that all right? I think maybe one of our students had been sledding before. This is Devin. He's the one that was in the wheelchair, and we put him in my husband's otter, and he rode up, and his mother came, and he had the best time. He sledded the whole time. He wouldn't quit. This is Brian. He's 17. He does nothing but eat at school all the time. He wouldn't get off the hill. Even though we had hot dogs and cocoa, I thought for sure he wouldn't sled at all, but he did. This is Deja. She's 19. She wouldn't get on the lift until I made her, and then I had to ride with her. This is just the most wonderful.
Did she go back again?
She went again and again and again. This is Gabi, who every time she got to the bottom, she put her hands up like she'd done something great. And these are my kids who look normal when they're going up that lift. It was wonderful. It was the best day of their life. And anything you can do for these kids, I greatly appreciate.
Oh,
Yes.
nice.
What was the name of the group again?
Thank you.
We're from Elmer North Learning Center. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Great job. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else that would like to make a comment relative to the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant?
I'll say something. Chris Morris, most of you probably know me. I probably have one of the few children in the community that's in a wheelchair, and we use the park all the time, whether it's summer, winter. It's just something that's accessible with the wheelchair, and I've tried to use the porta potties even though they're handicapped. I don't know if you've ever tried to get a wheelchair in and out there. It's not the easiest thing in the world, and something like with the concessions in the bathrooms would just be beneficial, because we utilize that park probably 3 times a week during the summertime. So for what it's worth, for having one of the few children in a wheelchair, it would definitely be beneficial for my daughter and anybody that comes after her or anybody that comes to visit the park. So, and like she said, I mean, they're coming from Flint, and we had 30-some kids utilizing our park, and with the Facebook posts that went out, I mean, I had people messaging me left and right to come open the lift up. We had people driving an hour and a half away to come use the lift for their kids in wheelchairs, and I went right out there, opened the lift up, so their kids could use the lift and go up and, like she said, sled for the very first time. And to be able to have other quirks like the restrooms and concessions would just be an added bonus for families and the kids. So that's it.
Thank you.
Very cool.
Fred Waybrandt, the director. I have a couple letters that they're advocates in the field of accessibility. And before I just read a couple short things that they wanted me to mention, that the park is being designed for all walks of life. So we're spending additional funds to make it accessible, and that's a good thing because we want everybody to use it. But don't think for a minute that we're doing this just so we can get those points to get grant money and stuff like that. If there wasn't even grants out there, this is the right thing to do, is make it accessible for everybody. Right from ground up, when Candy and I would put our heads together, when the park land was in its first designs, we sat down and drew a blueprint out of pencil, big sheet of paper. I drew it up because there was a competition at Kellogg's Foundation for park designs, and they were going to offer $200,000 to anybody that wanted to start a park from ground up to make it accessible. I was fairly new with that, and I educated myself, and the plan came to life. I went to I submitted it. Brandon Township came in second place. There was only one place, and that was for $200,000. Traverse City ended up getting it, and they had a lot of backing by the Rotary, a lot of backing money. We had nothing. So the president of the Kellogg's at that time was a guy by the name of Dan. I can't think of his last name. But in the last 2 years, he's been president of the DNR, who selects the Land and Water Conservation Funds. I found out from Cindy Burkauer, they go by a point system, but he could pull, if he wants to, he can pull from the bottom and say, I like what they're doing. And we've been squeaking by with the points. So I'm glad I had that meeting with Dan back in 2005, and it's benefiting us now. But we need to keep looking forward to developing the parking if we don't get the grant to make it accessible. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of the ARC. They're the top place in Michigan, the whole state of Michigan, and number 10 out of 650 nationwide advocates for children with disabilities and adults. And they sent a letter, and he wanted me to read it to get it on record. And it's also going to be an attachment to the grant. It says, with great pleasure, I submit this letter of support relative to the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Land and Water Conservation Fund 2018 grant application. It is easy for the ARC to support the Brandon Township Community Park because we certainly need additional universally accessible parks in more communities, especially in northern Oakland County. And he goes on and tells a little bit about their business, and he also has a brother that lives in Brandon Township that has a disability.
And what is his name, Fred, so we can
His
put
name
that
is
into
Thomas
the record?
Sorsky.
Can you spell that?
Kendziorski. He's an executive director of ARC, and he's also an attorney of law. And then our good friend Cindy Burkauer, who's an advocate for access to recreation. She's also the personnel that trains the DNR staff to look at the point system for the grants, and then also the development of the park. We contract with her to oversee, like for instance, we have to send the DNR print or our print to the DNR for them approval before we can break ground. And she's one of the advocates that says, kind of quickens it up and says, yeah, I've looked at it, everything looks great, we should move forward. So I'm just going to read one sentence from her that she was here the other day, and I just received this letter today. After our site visit and plan reviews, which she went over that plan, that yellow there is some of her markings. And like, for instance, this is one thing that even our engineers learned. And it should go for anybody that wants to sit in their car and watch the ball game. Well, our parking's right behind the dugout. So if you're in your car, you ain't going to see the game. So you got to have it on angles. So if I want to choose. I don't care if I have a disability or not, I can still watch the game. So little things like that, you know, she picked up. After our site visit and plan reviews, your incorporated my recommendations to improve inclusive universal design that will enhance the inclusive accessibility of your park from now and into the future. I would think that we're going to get all 60 points for the universal accessible. Our park is well on its way for being a park for all walks of life. We're the only one in northern Oakland County that has this type of park. And I hope that the board, when we get to doing the resolutions and things like that, that we support that. So we're going to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant?
Can I speak as a citizen?
Yes.
Do I have to go up there?
You don't have to,
Well,
but you can.
so that way then it.
Yep.
I'll speak as a citizen. I'm Dana De Palma, and I have children who are still in the school district, so I have a lot of friends who are still with young children, and with the, just with the soccer that's out there, there's weekends that the place is full, and the different things that we've had out there with the movie nights that I always take my kids to, and the, I know there's the Halloween, the Family fun night, and then I know with the baseball fields coming, we need concessions, we need a comfort station. Everybody, even when the other teams are there, they're like, you know, is there anywhere to go? I'm like, no, we got the outhouses, but we're working on it. So I really support the grant, and I know that I can speak for any of the friends of mine who have young children that they would support this grant too. So that's all.
Thank you. And Courtney, I would also like to go on the record as a resident in support of the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant. Is there anyone else that would like to speak during this public hearing?
I would go on record as well in support highly. This is a dream come true for Ortonville. Long time coming.
Okay,
I did that word for word.
Okay.
pardon me?
Chris dittos every word I said. All the words said.
As residents.
I couldn't
Yeah.
have said it. I couldn't have said it better.
Okay. If there's no one else wanting to speak during the public hearing, we need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion by Clerk Allen, and it is seconded by Trustee De Palma to close the public hearing for the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant. And we'll do a roll call, please.
Allen,
Yes.
Broughton. Yes. Darnall is absent with notice. De Palma,
Yes.
Cordella,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. So now we can get into our reports this evening. First, we have the Treasury report, we have a General Ledger report, we have a designated report, a reconciliation report, a building department report, and so far, building is slow, but as we kind of pointed out to each other, we actually have a winter this year. Last year, we didn't really have a winter, and people just built throughout the winter, so that didn't happen this year. We have a recreation report, and our recreation director is here. So, Mr. Waybrandt, did you want to speak to your report?
One thing that's not in your report is my mileage log. I forgot to grab it, but just a funny story about the truck. It sat most of January and February anyways, and then when I went and got the oil change 1st of March, they pulled out the air filter and said, you have a family living in your truck. It was mice.
Ooh.
So that's how long the truck's been sitting out there. We used it a couple times, of course, to go to the M-Parks conference that was held in Detroit. I also went to a conference in Brighton for a grant workshop, and I also went to a conference in Novi for developing park with geogrids, land balancing, and erosion control. As you know, we have the big mother tree out there that's a 50 caliber oak tree. HRC wanted to chop it down, haul it out, and I've been battling to keep that. And so I went to an arborist as well at a seminar, and he said there's no reason why we can't save that tree, so we adjusted the print around that tree. And it's going to make a good canopy for a picnic table and people to enjoy the park as well. We did have, to add to the my report, we did have a meeting with Cindy Burkauer, made some really good changes, and positive changes. The grant is, the 2000 grant application is finished, other than attaching the resolution and attaching the minutes of this meeting. And once we get that, Scott has been helping me proofreading. He has done the majority of the grant already, and when it's all finalized, him and I will sit down and make sure I haven't made any mistakes, and then we'll submit it. It has to be submitted by March 28th. Other than that, I can answer any questions. As far as the programming, we've been slow as well. All of our indoor programs are on its last 2 weeks. Chris Morris is currently working for Parks and Rec. He has a kind of an afternoon shift, a different type of job description that we put together since Holly's been gone. He does site observations. He does teaching of the classes. He's been my instructor for Pee Wee sports camps, youth sports camp. He's going to be doing beginning soccer. He's got 5 children. He is very good with children. So I've known Chris for a long time, and he come walking in the door, he goes, "I'm your man," and he is. He's doing a real good job for us. So we're focusing on soccer and baseball. We have our uniforms on display so people can try them on. Chris is working on sponsorships for soccer and baseball. We've already gotten a few in, and that's where we're at. I know the village is applying for the Recreation Passport Grant to upgrade the concession stand. Hopefully they'll get that. And Wayne Wills called me the other day. He said that Cedar Street will be under construction for asphalting, so he wanted to know our baseball schedule. So I told him, so I'm not sure what they're going to do, but they might move it to August just to stay away from our programming. That's all I have, if anybody has any
All right,
questions.
did anyone have any questions for the rec director?
And how many people do you usually have registering for wrestling?
Wrestling, I know, it's down. I can give you a quick story on that. We had 28 the year prior. We get about 28, 33, somewhere around in there. Steve Hendershot retired. He was our wrestling director, and he's also the junior high coach. He stepped down. We offered it to the varsity coach, Eric. Can't think of his last name. And all of a sudden, nobody signed up. We're like, what happened here? We brought back Brady Hendershot, who helped his dad last year, and he's a college student now. And all of a sudden, we got 12 kids. It was like last-minute stuff. So unfortunately, for some reason, parents didn't want to put their kids with our instructor. That's what I hear.
It seemed way down, that's why I asked.
Yeah, and it got, like I said, it was just like, where are these kids? And then we stretched out and reached out, and at least we got 12 of them. So we'll work on that a little better next year. Yeah. Anything else?
Any other
I do,
questions?
yeah. I was glad to see in the village meeting, they're following through on that passport grant. If there's anything I can do or what you can do to make sure, because with John Lyons kind of being in and out at best, I think, I'm asking you, I'm not telling you, I'm asking you to still keep an eye on this thing, because I know that they have a time limit they have to follow, and I'm concerned we put it off 1 year already because of shifting responsibilities, which is fine, but I really just hate to see us lose it for another year because they have people in and out, if you will. There's no official.
Well, I met with Liz. Matter of fact, she was at one of the grant seminars that I attended, and she asked a lot of questions, and then I gave her the copy that I did last year that actually scored well, and then they pulled out. So she has the complete copy. I said, cut and paste, whatever you have to do, let me know if I can be any help. And I know she's under direction of John Lyons still, I think. Is she?
They have a new village manager, and actually, he's going to come to our department head meeting tomorrow morning,
Oh,
so
okay.
we can have that conversation with him tomorrow.
Good.
All
That's
right,
good. Then.
cool.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We have an Edna Burton Senior Center report, a CDBG report, and that brings us to trustees' reports. Scott, would you like to start us out
No, I
tonight?
don't have anything more other than I'd just like to reiterate, Fred, he's doing a good job with these grants. Okay, that's it.
All right, thank you. Trustee DePalma.
We had a retirement oversight committee meeting, and later on, you'll see in our agenda, we're going to be discussing the MERS surplus fund, which is funding of the pension. So we had much discussion on that and became educated on that, so we can bring that to the board. We also discussed the actuarial, because it's our year to get our OPEB actuarial done. So as you can see, we'll be bringing that to the board, because we had gone through that. And then we just discussed our different reports and different, just trying to keep an eye out on everything and what's happening with all of the state changes that they made with reporting and stuff like that. So that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Marshall.
Two things. Fred, I think it's great that we're getting some recognition in the out and about community for the sledding hill. I think that sledding hill is just amazing. It's a great idea. So thank you for that. And secondly, I am thrilled to report that the red light on the exit out here has been fixed.
Yeah.
I didn't have to go for like the 5th month and say it's still out. So thank you, whoever was responsible.
It was actually fixed.
Yeah?
Last month.
Was it really?
Yeah, when I pulled out here, I was like, what's Bob talking about? You know, I was kind of going like, it's blinking.
Twice, the second time that they fixed it.
Thanks, LT.
Yeah.
All right.
It's blinking. I was surprised. Go ahead.
Thank you, Bob. Trustee Cordella.
Yeah, there was no planning commission in February, so nothing to report there. And I also would like to give my kudos to Fred and all the hard work. And you know, I'm very impressed with your efforts and to get grants, and especially to help out the handicapped. That is a absolutely wonderful thing, and the stories basically reiterate that to an incredible degree, and job well done. Job well done.
All right, thank you. So now we'll move on to the clerk's report, since the treasurer is absent tonight.
Thanks for everybody for coming. We had a bid opening for the CDBG kitchen remodel, and there were 3 bidders, which I will be presenting to our board next week. I asked that all the references were checked out before I came in with a recommendation. The deadline to submit for petitions to run as the Brandon Township trustee position is April 24th, and we have packets available for anyone interested in running for the remainder of the 4-year position, which is November 20th of 2018 to November 20th of 2020. Yeah. Sorry. We will be mailing new voter card registrations to all voters who reside in Precinct 1 and 2, as you will now vote at the Brandon High School since the Fletcher School was closed. Watch for the deadline dates for the August 7th election in the Citizen newspaper over the next couple months. And the Bureau of Elections is holding a mandatory workshop this month, and all staff in my department will be attending in Saginaw.
Hey, Candy, real quick, what was the item before that? I missed that. You said you're going to be putting something in the Citizen?
The newspaper about deadlines and such for our August 7th election.
Oh, for the
Watch the
primary.
newspaper. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna be putting it in which edition?
Over the next couple months, you'll see a few things.
Okay. Just wondering.
That's okay. Read that
I've
newspaper.
had some people ask me in my neighborhood
Oh, okay.
about,
I don't have definite dates yet, but there's
Yeah.
a deadline to
no problem.
register to
I'll
vote
just tell
and a
them that, you know,
deadline.
I'm kind of giving them like, you know,
Okay.
like in a ballpark, you know, just kind of,
Okay.
this is when you gotta have to have your whatever done, you know.
If they want to run for the trustee position, the deadline is April 24th.
Yeah.
And they
I
have to
got
get the
that
packet in
from-
my
yeah,
office.
Karen, I talked to her while you were away, and she told me that, yeah.
Can we just
Okay.
state why there's an open position? There's an open position.
Yes, there is an open position because we had a trustee who did not resign in the proper way. So she had 45 days to resign. She did not, so the board appointed that position to be held until the next official election. And that's how that process works. Good? Okay. I will be attending the Brandon Groveland Youth Assistant Breakfast at the end of this month at the Brandon Township Public Library. I believe it's March 29th, I'm pretty sure. Thank you. This is a great opportunity to network with the businesses and service groups that help our community children. Have a safe and happy Easter. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Candy. I have a question for you that you can answer. For the supervisor's report, I just wanted to say I'm very pleased that this board is so supportive of the sledding hill. When we were trying to get that in, actually, we were approved for the grant, and then it came time for the board to approve the agreement. There was not a lot of support, and we just squeaked through with going through with getting that funding to put that sledding hill in. So it's just refreshing to see the support that we have for that sledding hill, and it's refreshing to see that it's being used for the purposes that it was built. So I'm very excited about that. I'm still working on the Gov Delivery notification system. We talk with the Gov Delivery people like once a week, so that's coming along, but there's still work to do. The county sent out their Skywarn spotter training classes for 2018. If you like watching storms and want to help the National Weather Service warning process, there will be a class on May 10th at the Old Town Hall at the corner of Mill and Church Street for you to take. Other classes and dates are available at other locations. To sign up and for more information, you can contact Oakland County at 248-858-5300. And we'll get that posted. I'll give this to the clerk so she can post it on the board too. So we'll have the information here at the
We can
offices.
put that on our Facebook page, and
we
we can
can-
put it on our Gov Delivery when the time
Yep,
comes.
and we already have it on our Facebook page.
Okay.
And we already sent it out for Gov Delivery. So,
If I can just add, I mean, it sounds sort of lame to say, well, I'm gonna go take a class on watching weather, but it's actually kind of cool to take the class. It's actually kind of a cool class to
Yeah.
take.
Sounds like it would be.
okay. We have an opportunity to participate in the county's West Nile prevention program again this year. So I'll be going to a training at the county on Wednesday for that. So next board meeting, we'll be voting on that purchase, which we get reimbursed for. We are taking appointments for our March Board of Review. And our dates this year is Tuesday, March 13th from 9 a.m. to 6, Thursday, March 15th from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., or Monday, March 19th from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. So anyone that wants to attend March Board of Review needs to call our office for an appointment. Our number is 248-627-4918. And I'll also give this to the clerk for posting. But that one, we probably could get out on our Facebook page too, so. I just found that on the desk in my office, so I'll work on that tomorrow. And I'd like everyone to be careful on the roads. The gravel roads cannot be graded at this time of year without making them into mud soup. So all the road commission for Oakland County can do is to put material in the really big potholes so that people can pass through. So I just want to remind everybody to drive slowly and to exercise caution. Oakland County will be doing a prescribed burn during the months of March and or April at Independence Oaks. So if you look to the south and see Independence on fire, it's probably just a prescribed burn. We had 2 special meetings planned for this month. One is the 12th, which is next Monday, and the other is on the 29th. The meeting on the 12th will involve a closed session. The 29th is still somewhat tentative, but we will be talking about the Bellland schools during their closed session on the 12th and also possibly on the 29th. We had a contractor rescued today from being buried in the mud out on a construction site, and he is in stable condition, and I'd like to thank the first responders for a job well done. So they worked really hard out there, and I'm sure from the looks of it, because we had that helicopter over there taking pictures, everybody looked muddy by the time they got done, so.
Some more than others.
Interesting. So that concludes my report. We can move on to correspondence tonight. We have our MERS quarterly report, so that statement shows that we're doing very well. We have a Retirement Oversight Committee draft meeting minutes of February 22nd, 2018. We have the Parks and Rec Subcommittee meeting minutes of October 19th, 2017, and also March 1st, 2018. And I think a revised version of the March minutes were handed out for people. So at this time, we are taking citizens' comments on agenda items. So if anyone would like to make a comment on an agenda item, now is your opportunity. And we still have a few people in our audience. And I don't know if they want to make a comment on the agenda or not, but now's your opportunity, and doesn't look like it, so we will proceed. We have no discussion this evening, but we do have a consent agenda. Our consent agenda has regular meeting minutes of February 5th, 2018, special meeting minutes of February 1st, 2018, regular bills in the amount of $194,510.46, prepays in the amount of $183,245.33, Township benefits from payroll account of $206,827.28, and trustee timesheets in the amount of $1,089. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
So forth.
Okay, is there any discussion on the consent agenda tonight? None? Okay, I have a motion by Clerk Allen, and it is seconded by Trustee Marshall to approve the consent agenda as presented. And we'll take a roll call, please.
Broughton.
Yes.
Darnall is absent with notice. DePalma.
Yes.
Cordella.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. We have one item of unfinished business tonight, and that is the resolution for House Bill 4660. 4674. And I put something together that I'd like to read to the board on this. This is the third time that the board has seen it. There was a lot of discussion over the cost, and I would like to address that. It is my opinion that we are not seeing the forest through the trees on the House Bill 4675 resolution to study long-term care in Michigan. The question at hand is whether or not we support the study, not whether or not we approve of the cost of the study. Candy, Dana, and I attended the Capitol Conference on January 31st this year, and many times throughout the conference it was emphasized to us that we should be letting our legislators know what is important to our community. This resolution is an example of one way we can communicate with our legislators as a board. And I would recommend that we send this resolution if it's approved, or if we don't approve the resolution, that we let our legislators know. So the resolution and the bill do not mention the cost of the study. In the legislative analysis, it says similar studies were between $500,000 and $750,000, which means the Department of Health and Human Services has performed studies like this in the past. There would be no fiscal impact to local governments. The analysis also gives the key points of what the study would entail. The state's budget in fiscal year 2016 was $56.2 billion. 41.7% of that budget was for health and human services. The state spends more money on health services than it does on anything else. A $750,000 expenditure in the state budget would be equal to us spending $30 from our budget. I don't think we would be quibbling over a $30 expenditure. If the state feels the study costs too much, it's up to them to find an alternate revenue for that purpose. From my personal experience with my parents, my in-laws, and my grandparents, I know that seniors want to stay in their own home as long as possible, and their second choice would be to live with a family member. It is disheartening to know that some seniors are being forced out of their homes because they can only receive needed financial assistance when they are living in a senior care facility. Therefore, on behalf of our community, I will be supporting this resolution to support House Bill 4674. And I'll open the discussion up to the rest of the board. And there's no discussion?
Nope.
Okay. So we have a resolution supporting House Bill 4674. And I could read this through, but I can also just read the now therefore be it resolved that the Charter Township of Brandon affirms itself to be a caring community in recognition of the township's commitment to ensure that care for the elderly and people with disabilities and children is accessible and affordable, that care providers have the same rights and benefits as all other workers, and that the township works to facilitate the connection of people to care throughout the lifespan of its inhabitants. Brandon Township calls on the legislature of both parties to support legislation for the state of Michigan to commission a study on long-term care and aging in support of the creation of innovative solutions for senior and family care in our state, and therefore be it finally resolved, the Brandon Township government calls upon the Michigan legislature to support House Bill 4674, which offers the opportunity to do a rigorous needs assessment of long-term care in Michigan and provide an actuarial analysis of potential solutions.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution to support House Bill 4674 as presented.
Would anyone like to second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion on this? I know we've beat it around a few times. Seeing no discussion, I think we can do a roll call, please.
Darnall is absent with notice. DePalma,
Yes.
Cordella,
Yes.
Marshall,
No.
Allen,
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes, motion carries 5-1. Wow, we got that done quick after the last couple meetings.
We had it memorized.
You know, if there's some way to thank Lois again for coming in and letting her know what the results were of this.
Yep, I can send her an email.
There's a lot of things she had to say mattered to me especially. And I kind of came full circle on this one, so
Okay.
very much thought.
All right, we can dive right into our new business tonight. We have the resolution for the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant for local support for land, for local support. And then on the other side is the authorization of local unit of government match. On next Monday, on the 12th, we will be discussing the cell tower property. And I would like to make a recommendation that we postpone this to after we have that discussion on March 12th.
Is that going to cause a problem that we don't pass this resolution tonight in time for applying for the grant?
In talking to Mr. Waybrand, I don't think it should because it's due the 28th.
Yeah, you have to submit.
You want to stand up here, Fred, and then maybe you could give us an idea of where you are in this process.
2017, we met with HRC on the cost for concessions / comfort station, walkways, picnic tables, trash bins, recycle bins, solar lighting, all that. And since then, the numbers went up a little bit since the last time I talked to you people. And actually, it's gone up $10,600. The reason that your resolution is the way it is, instead of changing the match and making it equal, if we kept things the way it was, showing DNR doing the 124,000, I think, something like that, and we doing the match, and then we do an additional 2%, that's automatically 10 points, which could make or break getting the grant. Now, talking to HRC Albert, the cost of the building, he feels, is a little higher than his first estimate because it is all block. It has it meets all the accessible. Of course, you walk in, the lights turn on. It'd probably be a nicer building than this building.
Hey, Fred, I think Kathy was trying to just get a time right, because you're going to have to do all this again when we.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, my question just was, is if we wait another week, is that going to cause an issue with you applying for the grant on time?
No, long as I get a copy of a signed minutes and a signed clerk's.
They have to be draft, but yeah, you will.
What do you mean by draft?
A draft set of minutes is, they haven't been approved, because it would be approved at the next board meeting, which would be after your deadline.
Yeah, I think that's what happened last time, too.
I believe they'll accept draft minutes.
Yeah, and then
I'm pretty sure.
from June, they opened the thing back up again.
Or
and
then you can give final minutes?
Then you do the
So,
signed ones.
so us waiting a week to do the resolution and getting you the minutes from that meeting will still give you enough time to do
Yeah.
it? Okay, so that's what I was asking, because
I'm just
Kathy asked
hoping
us
you
to
guys,
postpone it.
you know, I know the cell tower was around for 10 more years, and we're asking for $131,000 of that again. But in my perspective, you're still gonna have 90 to 100,000 for the next 20 years to maintain the park, so that's just my point on it.
Well,
I know that's all being discussed later.
Right, so if it's not gonna hurt to wait a week, I'll wait, since you said we need to discuss other stuff next week.
yeah, it's just I'd hate to commit to this and then if during the discussion we find out maybe we shouldn't commit to it.
No, I agree.
It's better.
No, I'm fine waiting, I just wanna make sure it didn't affect the grant
Can I make a
filing.
motion
Yeah,
to
I think-
postpone this for our next meeting?
Okay.
I'll support then.
Well, I'll be attending
It's up to you.
Yeah, it's,
It's next Monday.
You won't be able to do the closed session part of it.
Yeah.
But then we'll do the grant part when we come out.
You aren't gonna have to solve though, Fred, if that's what you're worried about.
Yeah.
You're good.
Okay, I have a motion by trustee Bratton, and it is seconded by trustee DePalma to postpone the resolutions to our March 12th special meeting, correct? Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, and next on our agenda, thank you. Next on our agenda is the OPEB actuarial evaluation firm. I got 3 quotes, and the lowest one was for $42,000. The other 2 came in closer to 10,000. I'm sorry, 4,200.
Yeah.
Yeah, 42,000 would be a lot. And then after talking to that firm, I asked if they divided out the fire department and the township art costs, which they did last time for us, if there would be an extra charge, and there is. So it's actually for $4,600. And the lowest was from Watkins and Ross. And we also got quotes from Gabriel, Roeder, and Smith and Company, and then Raymond Financial.
And who, before, I know last year we used Burnham Flower, but before that, we used Watkins Ross, right?
Yes.
So this is one we've used before. And they're doing both the 74 and the 75 GASB, is that correct?
Yes, the 75 Gadsby comes into effect in
Next year,
2018.
right. Okay, but we're doing the 74 and 17.
Yeah.
So I'll make that motion to contract with Watkins Ross for a fiscal year 2017 OPEB actuarial evaluation for $4,600 and a 2018 interim report for $1,500.
Second.
And this was discussed by the Retirement Oversight Committee, and this is their recommendation that we go with Watkins Ross.
They did it before and we were happy with them. We just left them for a year because we had a free one through our insurance. And
And now they can't do the
74 and 75,
requirements
right?
for 74 and 5, yeah.
Which are just GASB reports, if you're wondering what 74 and 75
I was going
is.
to ask.
It's the government
It's
accounting.
nowhere in here.
It's the government accounting. It is, if you look at the quotes on the back, we're talking
Okay.
about when we ask. So GASB is the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, and they have some new reporting that comes out. They always number them. So 74 and 75 came out that we have to report on.
Okay.
I don't think you want to know the details of
No,
74 and
no.
75, but it's required to
Just-
do those.
Yep, perfect.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, I have a motion by trustee DePalma, and it is seconded by trustee Broughton to contract with Watkins Ross for a fiscal year 2017 OPEB actuarial evaluation for $4,600 and a 2018 interim report for $1,500. And we'll do a roll call, please.
Cordella,
yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
Darnall is absent with notice. DePalma,
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Next, we have the second reading of rezoning of parcel 0319327018. This is the same thing that was brought to the board at our last meeting.
Is it 1.8 or 1.7?
1-7.
Is it 1-7?
1-7.
Okay. It's 1-7, and so please make that correction on your agenda. So 1-7.
So I'll make the motion to adopt the second reading, an ordinance amendment to change zoning and map reclassifying of parcel 03-19-327-017 from RE Rural Estate to R1B Single Family Residential per the attached rezoning documents.
Support.
Is there any discussion on this? I think the building director was asking everybody prior to the meeting if they had any questions, so hopefully.
We've already discussed it.
Yeah, we
wasn't
have
feeling well.
discussed it. No.
He's been
We
sick
already
over a
discussed it,
week.
but I did the motion
Okay.
quickly, get done.
All right, if there's no further discussion, I have a motion by trustee DePalma, and it is seconded by clerk Allen, to adopt for second reading an ordinance amendment to change zoning and map reclassifying parcel 03-19-327-017 from RE Rural Estate to R1B Single Family Residential per the attached zoning documents. And we'll do a roll call, please.
Marshall,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
Darnall is absent with notice. DePalma,
Yes.
Cordella, Thurman.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Next, we have a revision to the resolution on property guidelines. The board approved this at our last meeting, and then the assessor found out that there are a couple of guidelines that we approved that should not be included. The changes are because of rulings from the State Tax Commission. And apparently, this form is used by other municipalities, and they're going to have to change theirs as well. So it's pretty much basically the same resolution. It's just revised, and you can see on the second page the two parts that were struck out from the original resolution.
Do we need to postpone this until we have the exact wording, or?
No, the exact wording is on
It's
the front
here.
page.
Oh, okay, gotcha. She just showed you. All right. Sure.
And are we sure then
see
that
a
everything
typo.
else is okay per the, wherever he got the changes from? Like everything else is okay?
Everything else
Okay.
should be fine, except for
Just a
we
little
have.
space there.
Oh.
That's all.
We have
Nothing
a-
major.
We have a space on the third whereas, on the top line after Brandon, there, we'll take out that extra space between Brandon and the comma. Little wordsmithing. So would someone like to make a motion to approve the Charter Township of Brandon Guidelines Resolution 28618 for poverty exemption as revised
So-
on March 5th, 18?
So moved, sorry.
Okay. Someone like to second?
Second.
Is there any other discussion or questions on this? All right, I have a motion by Clerk Allen, and it is seconded by Trustee Cordella to approve the Charter Township of Brandon Guidelines Resolution 286-18 for poverty exemption as revised on March 5th, 2018. We'll do a roll call, please.
Allen,
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
Darnall is absent with notice. DePalma,
Yes.
Cordella,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Next, we have the fire dispatch agreement. And we have the fire chief here to answer any questions that anyone might have. And we have a suggested motion.
I'll make
And-
the motion.
Okay, as presented.
Presented, yes.
All right, would someone like to second the motion?
Support.
Okay.
Or second, whichever you like.
And does anyone have any questions on this? This was brought to the fire authority via
Email.
email.
And the village approved it on last Monday's meeting.
Okay.
Nice.
I have one question, Chief. And I looked back through your report that you gave us last month, and I don't see anything in there. It shows you have an increase in number of calls, but I didn't see a percentage increase. Did I miss it somewhere twice? And the only reason I'm asking is because they're asking for a percentage increase as far as the amount paid in the contract, and I was just wondering how that corresponds with the percentage increase in number of calls, because that's what they're justifying you already on your calculator?
Well, let me see
I was gonna say,
here.
let's get my calculator.
Because I know full well they don't add personnel.
So it's like a
because
7.3% increase.
I was just gonna say 7.5% increase.
From number of calls
Yes.
from last year?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and they're asking for
10%.
3, right?
Yeah, 10.3, 5.1, and 3.0. So,
So if you
I guess
average-
if you average them out, 7 times 3 is 21, plus,
You're
one
still,
and a
I was
half,
gonna say, if
22.
you average it, it's, you're
Yeah.
in the better, if every
Yep.
year we go up 7.5%.
Right.
Because then this year, yes, we're up 3%. Next
So,
year's
and part of the way that works is, like if you look at what they quoted us for the years prior to that, 2014, 15, 16, 17-ish, and if you look at the numbers there, we definitely got a better deal out of them at the end of that if you average that out, right? I mean, we were only paying for 1,135 calls, and we had 2 years there that we were over 1,200. So, what I like to call that first year is catch up. And they realized that they need to charge us more, so that's where they make that initial jump. And that's pretty common. When we did the 2015 contract, it increased by 17% that first year, and then it was significantly less each year after that. So
My concern is in the long haul, and you and I sort of talked about it. I mean, I'd always much rather have these kind of things done in-house, because we have more direct control over it. There's an expense associated with that.
there is.
But in the long haul, if we could keep getting nickel and dimed, I've been in communities that have contracted fire services to other cities, and it sort of gets the ball rolling where that community then becomes dependent on the community providing the fire service, in this case dispatch, and the community providing that service becomes dependent on the money from that community, and it's sort of a catch-22 kind of thing, where one community can't get out of it, and the other community doesn't want to get out of it because they can't, because they need the money for personnel. So that's my concern. I don't have a problem with doing it right now, but maybe in the long haul, we can start looking at possibly going with other communities for
As
central
much
dispatch.
Yeah, as much as I'd like to, have a discussion on that, the reality of it is the amount of call volume that we're having to go in with any other agency right now at this point in time would just be too cost prohibitive. And what I mean by that is that you have to have at least 2 dispatchers 24/7.
Right.
So that's 6 people at about 60 grand, probably 80 grand by the time you do benefits and overtime and sick days and all that. I understand where you're coming from, and as the discussion that we had, the only game in town right now is Oakland County Sheriff's Office. And with that being said, they do a very good job for the amount that we pay them. Are there problems? Do we run into problems? Absolutely. And typically we can get those problems resolved very quickly. We see somebody from the sheriff's office on a regular basis at our North Oakland Chiefs meeting, and again at our Oakland County Chiefs meeting. Not to mention that I have his cell number, personal cell number, and his work number available anytime I need it, and that's our dispatch supervisor, who also happens to be a firefighter in Genesee County. So, with that being said, I understand we used to do our own dispatch. We got out of it because what was happening is that somebody had to wait until we had other people arrive so we could pull a truck. So you're paying firefighters that are very well trained to sit behind and talk on a radio. and not to make light of our dispatchers, because they have a very important job too, but we want the firefighters that are trained out on the road, and we want the dispatchers that are trained to do dispatching to be there. The other thing that I will say is that the dispatch office currently through the sheriff's office, and I didn't have a chance to have that conversation with you, also gives us the highest points that we can get right now with our ISO, which is the Insurance Services Organization. And I didn't have a chance to bring it up in that short email exchange that we had. So I don't want to blindside you. I apologize for that.
That's
but,
fine.
But, you know, we do get the most points out of that, and we have 10 points out of that helps us with our ISO rating. So I get it. Yeah. Locally, we have more control on how they dispatch, what they dispatch, and the method that they do it in. I get that. And there's a cost that comes with that.
Can I ask a question, just because it got thrown out there, is that your concerns, but with clarification did not rise the level of the must be done. What are your concerns? I know that they don't must be done, but they just kind of, you made me curious by mentioning you had some concerns, of course.
Right. Well, the concerns that were listed,
didn't see them. Are they in
concerns
here?
were from Stewart,
Okay.
our attorney.
Okay.
And
So
it
not
was.
your concerns on the working?
No.
Gotcha.
No, it was concerns with the language of the contract. And the contract is a template
Right.
that they take out whoever and put in Brandon Township and the dollar amount. And
So it's
here you go.
attorney's wording
It's attorney
concerns,
wording.
not your
Yep.
concerns on their working?
No.
Of what they're gonna do?
No,
Okay.
no. I am completely comfortable with
Okay.
the level of service that they're going to provide us.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for the fire chief? Okay, I have a motion by trustee Broughton, and it is seconded by clerk Allen to accept the 2018 through 2021 fire dispatch service agreement between the County of Oakland and the Charter Township of Brandon as written, and amend line item 206-912-801.911 dispatch fees from $35,600 to $36,500, and to take the needed additional $900 from the carry forward fund balance. Okay, roll call, please.
Broughton.
Yes.
Darnall is absent with notice. DePalma.
Yes.
Cordella.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Excellent, thank you.
All right, next on our agenda is the MDOT performance resolution. And this is a resolution that MDOT keeps on file, and they want it updated every so often. And it just allows us to get permits to work in the road right-of-way. We used to hang a sign over M15 for Septemberfest. Right now, we're still working on those banners for the high school that is in the
Yeah.
road right-of-way. So we've got approval from DTE to do that project, and we're still now we're working on MDOT approval. So this is just something that just needs to be updated.
Those kids in high school would be graduated from college by the time they get those banners up.
I'd
Wait,
like
can
to
we-
make a motion that we
Yeah.
adopt this resolution.
Okay. Would someone like to second?
I'll support it.
Okay, I have a motion by Clerk Allen, and it is seconded by Trustee DePalma to adopt the performance resolution for governance agencies as presented. Okay. Are there any questions? Roll call, please.
Darnall is absent with notice. DePalma.
Yes.
Cordella.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Broughton.
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. That brings us to our last item of business, the MERS surplus fund. So MERS handles our pension and also our other post-employment benefits. But we discussed during our last Retirement Oversight Committee meeting about how we can take surplus money that we send to MERS and make it increase our percent funded as opposed to what it's doing now. What it's doing now is just lowering our payment amount. So in order to do that, we have to set up a MERS surplus fund. So that is what we're asking the board for approval on. Technically, we don't need board approval, but we wanted to make sure the board was aware of what was going on. So we're asking for board approval.
I know I've asked this question before, and I can't remember the answer. What percentage are we funded now?
We are about
79?
We are about 79% funded.
Percent
This is
funded.
on the pension, not on the OPEB.
Right.
But I can explain it real quickly. What it is that every year MERS comes to us and tells us how much percent we should pay in, and let's just for easy numbers say they tell us 12, but we're paying in 14. So there's that extra 2% that we're paying in. So doing it this way, it's like your mortgage. Think about when you pay more on your principal and it goes to principal, you want to tell them, hey, this is principal, not interest, to bring your mortgage down. So it's
we wanna
working.
bring our percent
We
funded
want to
up.
bring our percent funded up by us
No,
paying
I
in
have no problem raising
more
the
of
funding
that.
on the pension. I have no
And
problem
that
with at all.
surplus fund at any time, if we needed it to go into the regular funding that goes out to the employees, can be moved. It's not like a fund you can't touch. It's just a separate line item because it's that extra principal payment, if you want to say. Because we're paying more than what they're asking us to pay, and the reason we're paying more than what they asked us to pay is because our funding started to drop a little bit because of the changes that they made with people living longer and different things.
Percent
The
interest.
percent interest changed, so we ended up needing to, and they gave you a certain amount of time to try to get there, and we're going and we're trying to go a little bit quicker than what they're doing. So that's what it's for. So if nobody has any questions,
Thank
I'll
you,
make
Dana.
the motion to set up the MERS surplus fund for any pension payments made above the minimum requirements and allow the supervisor to sign the surplus division adoption
Agreement, addendum.
addendum.
I'll
Say
support
agreement.
that.
Okay. Any discussion, questions?
So we're getting a better rate from them than we would get having it in the bank anyways, yes?
Our rate last year, that was the one thing that was in here, showed that we made 13 point.
Yeah.
On OPEB, I don't know.
Oh, that was the OPEB one? Okay, that was on
More
OPEB.
than our extra.
Oh, yes, yeah. I didn't realize which report that was. Yeah, we're getting a good percent.
Okay, I have a motion by trustee DePalma, and it is seconded by clerk Allen to set up a MERS surplus fund for any pension payments made above the minimum requirements and allow the supervisor to sign the surplus division adoption addendum. Okay. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. And that completes our new business. At this time, we will take citizens' comments. We still have a couple out there in the audience.
One's coming up.
One's coming up.
As a citizen.
Is that mud on your boots?
That is mud on my boot.
Oh, boy.
I figured this is probably better to bring it up at citizen comments than under my item on the agenda, but I have two things. First off is our trench rescue today. It was a shallow trench that basically washed back in on the individual that was laying some electrical work to try and get a sewage ejection pump working for a new home that's being constructed. With that being said, the individual ended up getting trapped. The mud, the muck was very suction-y, if you will, and he just was not going to let him go. And he was kind of in an awkward, precarious position to try and get out. He was conscious and alert the whole time, was actually joking with the crews, so that's a good thing. But it did take a rather long time, and we did have to call for our mutual aid partners. And I just want to make sure that I say thank you to all of our fire department staff that were out there this afternoon, as well as all of our mutual aid partners. They came from all over north end of Oakland County, and we were able to have a successful extrication of that individual, unlike the incident in Sterling Heights last week. So it was very, very important. And we couldn't do it without it. There's a lot of extra stuff that goes into that, and one of those being is that anytime that you are stuck in that kind of a position, you are susceptible to crush syndrome, and that can create bad blood in your system, and if you let that all out without getting proper medication, can kill you slowly within a week to 2 weeks, and sometimes even quicker. So we had specially trained medics that came from other agencies that were there with us, that our staff had also they just actually did this as a training scenario 2 weeks ago. Wow. So they were fresh up on it, and everything went very well. So I would be remiss without saying, hey, everything that went out there went very well. And the true attest to that is that the individual was just released from the hospital. So he's going home with his family, and everything's good.
Congratulations.
Yes.
I was a shift commander on a not successful cave-in.
Yeah.
And, it was a matter of 10, 15 minutes, and the person died.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it sounds laughable to say somebody's stuck in the mud, but it's really not. And,
No.
Yeah.
Scary.
No, and thank you, and I will relay that to the crews, because I did nothing but just kind of stand out there and direct, and they do all the work, and they make the rest of us look really good, and they did an awesome job. So having said that, the second thing that I wanted to bring up, and you had brought up earlier, was a Skywarn. I worked with Oakland County to get that in Ortonville, because it hasn't been hosted in Ortonville before. So we're going to try the town hall. It's important that anybody that wants to sign up for that program, that they go to the Oakland County website. You can also go to the fire department website. I already have it on our page. And I was going to get the information to you, and been a little crazy here lately. But so that way they know where to go. But you need to go to the Oakland County Skywarn page, and there you can log in and create a reservation. It's really important to have that if you've never had it, because even sometimes first responders can, what looks like maybe a tornado is really not a tornado or a shifting wall, but it could look that way. So this will help you identify what is a problem and what isn't. So it should be a good training. And other than that, I want to say thank you and good evening.
Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment this evening? Okay, seeing none at this point, we will do board comments. We'll start on this end. Chris?
I have no comment, but job well done also, Chief, and your staff, and everybody else. I happen to live near that area, and I saw the helicopter, and I thought it might be bad news, kind of a scenario, and that it's good news scenario is always, it was great to hear that it was working, so kudos.
Trustee Marshall? Okay. Trustee DePalma?
Two things. Thank you to all the first responders. I saw the helicopter, and I never thought anything bad. I was thinking they were doing surveys, or I don't know what I was trying to figure out. I didn't know what was going on. I just saw it there for a while, and I never thought about checking the news to see what was going on, so I'm glad that it turned out good. Once I saw what it was, I was really concerned. Second is, I forgot to mention about the parking lot, how if they do the parking on the angle, I think it's a great idea, not just for maybe someone who's handicapped, but I know my parents are older, and when they've come to games for my kids, if it's raining outside, they don't want to sit out in the bad weather because they could get sick, or, it's just harder on them, and so they have sat in cars. So if it is on an angle for people who just don't want to get out if the weather's bad and they're still playing, it's a great idea too. So I forgot to mention that. So if you want to add that to the part for if our stuff is going in the minutes for the
Okay.
land and water.
Okay.
That's it for me. Thank you.
So, Trustee Bratton?
I think we're pretty close to set. Thank you for the one citizen that's still remaining here. And Michaela.
Okay, Clerk Allen.
I forgot to mention that on April 24th, we are doing Teens and Seniors Rocking and Raking, and there'll be an article in the newspaper and a mailing go out to everybody who has had the service done in the last few years at their homes. So watch the newspaper for that, and again, great job on the incident today. That's it.
Okay, and I just want to repeat, great job. And we really appreciate our first responders. We've got top-notch guys working here, so appreciate them all, and happy Easter, everyone. And that concludes our meeting. Who would like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Support, whatever.
Okay, I have a motion by trustee Marshall and a seconded by trustee DePalma. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.